The ghost of Wimbledon. The floodlights buzzed overhead, casting long shadows across the empty center court. Ethan Carter stood alone, gripping his racket, his breath steadying after another grueling late-night practice. His career was slipping through his fingers, each match a bitter reminder that his best years might already be behind him. He had been a rising star once, a name that echoed with promise. But a series of losses, injuries, and creeping self-doubt had turned that promise into a question mark. And now, as he fought to salvage his career, Wimbledon was his last hope. The court, pristine in the daytime, felt different at night, colder, heavier, as if something unseen lurked just beyond the edges of his vision. He had dismissed the strange sensations at first, the faint murmurs, the fleeting shadows in the stands, the unsettling feeling of being watched. But the longer he stayed, the harder they became to ignore. The whispers seemed to grow clearer, urgent, almost pleading. And then one night, as he collected his bag from the bench, he saw it. A figure stood near the baseline, motionless. It was dressed in all white, like a player from a bygone era, its form blurred by the dim lights. Ethan's heart pounded. He blinked, and the figure was gone. He told himself it was fatigue, his mind playing tricks on him. But deep down he knew better. Something, or someone, was trying to reach him. Unable to shake the encounter, Ethan started digging into Wimbledon's past. He spent hours scouring old newspaper archives, searching for any connection to what he had seen. That's when he found the story of Victor Lane, a name few spoke of, a champion lost to history. Lane had been a formidable player in the 1930s, a man destined for greatness until his sudden, inexplicable death during a final match. The official reports claimed heart failure, a tragic but natural end. But the deeper Ethan dug, the more inconsistencies he found. Witnesses had spoken of Lane looking uneasy before the match, of a tense exchange with another player near the net. Some even claimed he had been holding a letter in his hand just before he collapsed, a letter that mysteriously vanished after his death. And then there were the whispers, the conspiracy theories that had long been buried. Some believed he had been poisoned. Others insisted it was a cover-up, that Lane had uncovered something dangerous, something Wimbledon's elite had wanted to keep silent. Ethan couldn't ignore the parallels, the whispers he had heard, the visions that had plagued him. They weren't just random hauntings. They were memories, echoes of a truth that had never been told. The ghost wasn't tormenting him. It was guiding him. Determined to find answers, Ethan sought out those who might still remember. He visited old tennis clubs, spoke to retired journalists, combed through forgotten records. Finally, he found someone, a former groundskeeper who had worked at Wimbledon for over 50 years. The man, frail but sharp-eyed, hesitated at first, glancing around as if afraid someone might be listening. Victor Lane didn't just die, the old man finally murmured. He was silenced. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The man leaned in, his voice barely above a whisper. He spoke of a scandal that had rotted the heart of the sport, match-fixing, illegal betting rings, powerful figures who manipulated the game from behind the scenes. Lane had discovered the truth, had gathered evidence, had been ready to expose it all. But before he could, he was gone. And just like that, his name faded from history, his story buried beneath decades of carefully crafted legend. A shiver ran down Ethan's spine. Lane had died trying to reveal the corruption. And now, nearly a century later, his ghost was still fighting to be heard. Ethan knew he was at a crossroads. He could walk away, pretend he had never heard the whispers, never seen the ghost. Or he could do what Lane had died trying to do, bring the truth to light. That night, the visions became more vivid. He saw flashes of the past. Lane standing on this very court, his eyes filled with determination, his hand clutching a letter. He saw the moment of his collapse, the panic, the officials rushing in. He saw the letter being snatched away, a figure disappearing into the crowd. And then Lane's eyes met his, not in fear, but in a silent plea. The next morning, Ethan made his decision. He went public with what he had found, Lane's story, the suspicions, the missing evidence. He spoke to journalists, historians, anyone who would listen. The media erupted with renewed interest in the case, the long-forgotten scandal finally coming to light. And then, the strangest thing happened. The next time Ethan stepped onto center court, the air felt lighter. The shadows no longer loomed. The whispers had stopped. He looked up into the stands, and for the first time in weeks, the ghost was gone. Victor Lane's story had finally been told. He could rest.